Hey everyone, I'm Joe Kao, Manibusan, and my speech will be on culture as Sarah just talked about. And specifically, my speech will be about the past and present reflection of America within culture, as well as encompassing the psychological aspects of it. And one huge thing about speeches is not the speech itself, but sometimes the origin behind it. And my speech comes from my speech and debate team, and one thing we have to do is compete in speech. And one of the events is called Original Oratory. And the goal of Original Oratory is to make a speech to call to action. And my speech specifically is calling to action, and it kind of encompasses the idea of TED Talk, a reason to call to action and show people like the importance of something. So please enjoy The Legend of Two Lovers Point by me. Check. Half a day, tau guahansi. Si nana sa si tau mafinyagu guahan, kotoro si nanahu sa si tatau. Poli tau guahan mungwaisa tanga nihau, manikaw nihau ko fenestudia ki sa lago. Imena me good higi ko san chuga chagu tanumami. And kosta we mami, and kwakagwa hambini and sa lago. I just spoke to you all in the native Guamanian language known as Chamorro. It's very likely that you've ever heard it spoken, but effortlessly I was able to share a small part of my culture with you. However, in America, we have this disembowelaging method to share cultures. Throughout history, you can see that cultures have been oppressed. Currently, we still have cultures being oppressed. Today, I'll be talking about the state of culture decline in America. I ask you to allow me to do this through a legend. This legend is known as the Legend of Two Lovers Point. The legend goes that a young upper-class boy, Mateo, fell in love with a lower-class fellow manager. This love was forbidden on the island. First, I'll talk about the past and present effects of culture within America. Because of the significant love for each other, the two lovers fled village to village, seeking a place where they could love each other in harmony. Secondly, I'll be talking about the significance in every culture and why they should be preserved. After time and time of not being able to love each other, the two lovers fled through the jungle, upon a cliff, tied their hair together, and jumped, never letting go of the love for each other. But, lying upon a bushel of leaves was an infant, the last testimony of their love, to be raised only hearing of the legend in which he was conceived upon. Two Lovers Point. Lastly, I'll talk about how we can preserve the declining cultures in America. First, before we can talk about the topic of cultures, we need to define it. Psychological science defines cultures as much more than just food, festivals, and costumes. It's a set of ideas that coordinate action and create the meaning of a group of people. More often than not, these ideas are implicit, automatic, structuring institutions, and generally infusing the everyday business of our lives. In other words, it's the unique characterization of a person, individually separating the normalities of life and giving people diversity. Just look to the United States. In every American mall, not only will you find that diverse selection of Taco Bell and Panda Express, but you'll always have that traditional McDonald's. See, America has a lot of culture, but if you look deeper into the structure of our American society, you can see places like Taco Bell and Panda Express have just been Americanized. But modern America is not the fault to this problem. In 1830s, the President Andrew Jackson enacted the Indian Removal Act. This forced many Native Americans from their homeland, thus forcing them to walk what is famously known as the Trail of Tears. Think of being told you can't live where you were raised. In a small period of time, trying to gather as much personal belongings before they stripped it from you. Walking with your mother, father, brother, sister, son, or daughter, all wondering the same thing. Why? The Indian Removal Act was enacted so that the white male American farmer can have a place to farm, to benefit their society, and at the time, the superior ethnicity. And many people say that times have changed, that through the civil rights movement and constant protest, we have made change. Sadly, any law, bill, or amendment can be made, but it doesn't mean it's openly accepted. Physically, it has been stopped, but cognitively, it still remains. It is this inherent barrier of oppression that many of these cultures face, constantly being told that you have to follow the American way of life. One of the founders of America and hero of the revolution reinforced this idea. On History.com, under the Trail of Tears, it referred to President George Washington. He said the best way to civilize these Native Americans was to simply teach them our ways. He did this by trying to convert them to Christianity, teach them social economic practices, and teach them English. On the island of Guam, where I was born, in the educational system, the English language is taught as a mandatory requirement. but the often more traditional language of Chamorro is just an elective opportunity. It's ironic to think that a country that preaches on ideals of justice and freedom is internally being unjust to its own and oppressing the freedom which people have. Now that we know what culture is, it means nothing if we don't talk about the influence of it. Social psychologist Chin-Zoo Chio from the University of Illinois said that individual minds and behavior shapes culture as much as culture shapes individual minds and behavior. As a result, we're not just passive recipients of culture influences, rather active ones. The reason why the human is the most dominant species in the world is because we use our brain. When someone is exposed to one culture their whole life, they become closed-minded, usually denying anything that goes against their belief. When someone is exposed to a variety of cultures, it opens up the mind. For example, if a hunter was taught the whole life the best way to catch an animal was to run full force at it, but the animal was way too fast. Then, in another situation, a hunter was taught the best way to catch an animal was to trap it, but the animal never moved towards the trap. When these two different ways of culture hunting come together, they come to the consensus that one would chase the animal and one would wait by the trap. Then voila, you have dinner. This analogy shows the influence of cultures. When two cultures collide, it creates innovation, it creates creativity. It creates this unique paradigm shift to see events more clearly. And this helps problem-solving mechanisms. Just look to sports nowadays. Look at people inspired by Manny Pacquiao, Michael Jordan, and even Serena Williams. Not only do these people make hundreds of millions of dollars, but they have hundreds of millions of fans. Look to sports as a way of the unification of culture. Now that we talked about the definition of culture and the importance of it, we could talk about how to fix this within America. Physically, America has taken the right steps towards culture diversity. Enacting laws and amendments is going in the right direction, but forcing it on people as free as Americans is never a good idea. Instead, we need to promote culture. We all inherently believe that we are right. The natural competitiveness of an American is an amazing thing, but sometimes we degrade others in the process. It is at a point of de-escalation that I fear that many cultures will be on the brink of extinction. And what frightens me even more is that my own culture can be on the chopping block. Instead, we need to redefine the limits of competitiveness. Instead of waiting on others to succeed, we need to cooperate. Just look at the two biggest American tech giants, Apple and Google. When one makes an iPhone, the other one makes an even better one. Now apply this to pharmaceuticals. When one more natural pharmaceutical works with one more modern pharmaceutical, they can come together to find the best medicine for the patient. Now I'm not advocating that we need to have culture within everyday society, because we both know Google and Apple messed up when they took headphone jacks out of phones. We're just saying it's a good way to promote culture. Another way to get involved is to go to these celebrations. In an attempt to preserve their culture, many cultures offer ethical celebrations open to the public. Although publicized, many people don't go out of fear or they just don't want to disrespect the culture. But the reasons we have the celebrations is to teach people what to do and what not to do. And at least in my culture, we just want to have fun. And I know, a lot of us are busy and we don't have time to go to these places. But another way to get involved is to be aware. Just like any anti-bullying campaign or any anti-drug campaign, awareness is a for-sure method to at least tell cultures that you care. Now, if you look at the legend of Two Lovers Point, it holds much more merits than just a legend. With every legend, there is a lesson to be learned. Nothing literal, but something that we all conceptualize. In the case of the legend of Two Lovers Point, we saw as the two lovers fled village to village, just as many cultures were forced to flee. And when they were persecuted by their family, we saw that many cultures were persecuted by America. And lastly, when the lovers jumped off the cliff and left their infant behind, we saw as many cultures are gone, but still some remains. And just as culture was an infant, we need to protect culture as if it was a baby. Hi, I am a native of Guam. My grandparents were born on Guam and so were my parents. The people of Guam love their culture, but many people leave Guam for a better education in the US. The Guamanians keep Guam close to our heart, even when we're away from the island, and the customs we have stay with us wherever we go. Thank you.